Does blood type correspond to personality? I asked Amanda. Like if I'm a type A personality, or type A a-hole. Point taken. Type B biatch. I was starting to imagine this dying firefighter getting a pint of my blood and then whammo, sitting upright in his hospital bed and crying, "I'm alive!" He and I would be in People magazine together, and maybe on the Today Show, and he'd be really young and really cute. And maybe one night he'd say he had feelings for me, and I'd have to figure out if it was like narcissism or something if you slept with someone who had your blood inside of him, and then I'd decide it wasn't. And we'd be all happy together, and when people asked how we met, we'd say, "It's the craziest story." Luckily, the questions got easier after the whole blood type thing. It was amazing how many diseases I'd never had. Then I got to the really interesting question. Have you had any homosexual intercourse since 1980? Amanda, I said, why do they want to know about my sex life? AIDS, she replied. But yeah, they already asked about that a couple of times. This is just about intercourse. Maybe they just want to double check. Then why don't they ask you about your sex life? I've seen some of the guys you've slept with, and I wouldn't want any of their microbes in my arteries. Excuse me? Except Simon. I'd take a little Simon in my blood. Can't you just let it rest for 10 minutes? And do what? Knit? The Earth Mother 3 people ahead of us turned around and gave me a nasty look. She'd probably just put her knitting back in her bag in order to fill out the form. And actually, she wasn't the only one giving me a nasty look. It seemed like everybody was on their anti-Jasper bandwagon. Did the fact that the World Trade Center had just been destroyed mean that I couldn't act normal with Amanda? I genuinely didn't see the point of looking somber and talking somber and thinking only somber thoughts. Who benefited from that? You have to imagine that the minute before that first plane hit, there were guys in the World Trade Center giving each other crap. I left the intercourse question blank and finished my form. When the guy handing out the questionnaires passed by us again, I waved him down. He looked a little like my 8th grade science teacher with a comb over and the kind of Eddie Bauer shirt that was supposed to simulate being on safari for people who would never get as far as the Bronx Zoo. "Hey," I said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said. I pointed out the question. "What's that about?" "Oh, they need to know if you've had any homosexual intercourse." He looked a little surprised that of all people I had asked that question, which is what I love about American guys, especially straight ones. If you're not a flaming Filipino dancing queen, then they never ever expect the Asian guy to be asking about gay sex. They always figure you want to talk about math or the violin. Normally in this situation, Amanda would be joining me in fighting the urge to laugh, but she was pretending like she was too busy writing everything she knew about heart disease in her family. "Yeah," I said, "I figured that. But they mean unprotected sex, right? I mean, without a condom?" He shook his head. "No, it's really any gay sex." I could tell that I wasn't the first guy to ask him about this, and I really wasn't in the mood to spell it out for him. I tried to keep it light. "Let's say I have this friend," I said, "and the only times he's had homosexual intercourse, we're only talking a few times here, assuming you mean all-out intercourse, there was a condom involved, and never in any of those few occasions was that condom, compromised? So it's been 100% on the safety side. My friend would still be able to give blood, right?" Again, a head shake. "I'm afraid not. I'm not saying it makes total sense, but that's the law." Now I was getting upset because this was the only thing I could do, and now I wasn't able to do it for this crazy, bigoted reason. You mean to tell me if my friend Amanda here had unprotected sex with 100 guys and I had protected sex with 2 guys, she would be able to give blood and I wouldn't? People were definitely listening now. Let them, I thought. "I'm afraid that's the law. Even if we don't agree with it, we can't let you give blood." "That's the law?" Of course that's the law. Because who would want to give a dying person gay blood, even if it's screened for HIV and AIDS and everything else? No. If that person got some gay blood, who knows what might happen? Better to go without blood, right, than get it from a fag. That's a great law. It's like America's best law ever. I'm so freaking glad I live in this country.